Green. I'm a co-founder of Two Farmers Crisps. We're a hand-cooked crisp company in the small county of Herefordshire. I'm a farmer, and growing potatoes is what I think I do best, and grown them all over Herefordshire. I'm very passionate about Herefordshire and what it has to offer. I think it's a marvellous agricultural county. I don't think there's anything that we can't grow in Herefordshire if we put our minds to it, from top fruit, soft fruit, vegetables, root crops, sheep, cattle, goats, you name it, we seem to have it in Herefordshire. So we're a thriving agricultural county, but we're also a long way from our marketplace. We have many great businesses in Herefordshire, but getting food to market from Herefordshire can sometimes be costly. And I think through my years of farming, I felt that it would be great if we could actually add some value to something we were doing. And I looked at a lot of projects and thought, well, why don't I come back to the potato? Because it's better to do something that you actually know something about to start with. So I had a little bit of a dream of making my own crisp company. There's a very good crisp company already in Herefordshire that most people know, and I've served potatoes too. So I looked at what they'd done and thought, well, we can do the same. So I modelled it around another company, which I don't think was a bad thing, I hope. And tell me if somebody, stop me if people want to ask a question. I'll keep rattling on a little bit, but please interrupt, I don't mind. As a Herefordshire farmer, I knew that I couldn't bring a crisp to the market without some help. And for many years, I approached several people about coming to do with me. And then literally over a pint and a packet of crisps in the pub one night, a good friend who was in the potato business, he has a farm, but also was more trading potatoes and marketing potatoes, asked me about the crisp and said how far I got. And I said, well, I've got so far, I found a name, but I'm really getting a bit lost. And he said, well, it really interests me. I'd be interested in doing something with you. So we basically 4 years ago, or a bit longer than that, 5 years ago, set up Two Farmers Crisps in the idea of having the potatoes on the farm, making them into crisps on the farm and then distributing them. When we sort of got into looking at it a little bit deeper, we found that obviously we were going into a hugely crowded market. Crisp were sales, or snack market sales, were increasing, but not by very much. And there was a lot of new modern snacks that weren't made out of raw potatoes that were coming on the market, and we're going to take a share. But we still felt that there was room for a crisp in the market that was very sustainable. And I think that was where it really, for us, started to focus our minds as how do we make the most sustainable crisps. We had the potatoes on the farm. We could build a factory on the farm. We had the facilities. We were already on the farm making our own energy through an anaerobic digester. So we had a huge supply of gas, heat, and electric. So we felt that we could actually make the crisps as sustainable as possible. So that was probably the easy part. And then the second part was we started to look at how we were going to package our crisps. And we thought they've always been eaten up in a bag. Let's see if we can put them in a tin. We looked at tins and found that it was probably not cost effective to put 40 grams of crisps in a tin. We looked at boxes and found that was great, but then it was over packaged because you still in a box needed to put a bag inside the box to go on and so forth. So we sort of came back to the idea that perhaps somebody was quite right. The only way to eat a crisp was in a bag. And that was the point that looking at packaging and different bags, we came across compostable films, should I say. And those compostable films have been around for many, many years, probably the last 20 years in different forms, mainly for dry goods such as biscuits. Very expensive, so probably not widely used. But we started to talk about companies producing compostable films, and we said, has anybody ever made a crisp bag? And by chance they said, there is a company in the UK who has been working on it for quite a few years now, and they felt that they were getting close to making a bag of crisps out of a compostable film. We contacted them, and the journey really started. We knew nothing about it. We had to learn pretty quickly, but we could see that there was a possibility of having a compostable bag of crisps. So for those of you who don't know what a compostable bag of crisps really means, for us, it's a bag that composts in 26 weeks in home composting environments. So there's probably 3 ways of composting. It's home composting, which is 26 weeks, industrial composting, which is about 16 weeks, depending on how hot the industrial composting is. And literally then you could just plant your bags in the garden, and as long as they were mixed in the soil and went with microorganisms, depending on the temperature and where you were, they would compost over a period of a year. So we thought, great, we'll try and get our crisps in these bags. Being very new to it, we didn't really know how much it would cost us, but we thought that it went very well with our sustainability. The next part we moved on to was our flavours. Myself and Sean were very passionate about Herefordshire, and we were very keen to make all our flavours about Herefordshire or the surrounding counties. So we sort of looked at what we got really great in Herefordshire. We got some great cheese from a great producer called Charles Martel, and we picked his Hereford hot cheese, and he said, great, we could use it. We then looked at beef, and we came up with a flavour called Bullshot, which is basically beef and chili. We then got lots of apples in Herefordshire, well known for its cider. So we took some apples off the farm and made some great cider vinegar, and then put those on the crisps to make our apple cider vinegar flavoured crisps. And then the next one we came to was, because we were going with traditional flavours, we wanted salt. And that's where we sort of came to a stumbling halt, because we couldn't find any salt in Herefordshire. So we started to look at sea salts. And by chance, when I was doing an interview for the weather and potato grown with a BBC journalist, I mentioned, an off the record conversation that I've been that day looking at different salts. And she said, well, you've got salt on your doorstep. And I went, what do you mean? She said, there's salt in Droitwich. It's brine salt, and it's deep in the ground, and they're just bringing it to the surface again, burning the brine off, and they're selling it as a salt. And that was amazing to us, because then we had 4 flavours that were all about Herefordshire, and our flavours are 100% of the flavour in the bag. So quality has been a really important part for us, and sustainability. So that really was where we are, and how we launched Two Farmers Crisps in September of 2018. So that's a little bit about us.
Thank you very much. Wow. And so just a quick question. So how has the business changed during COVID-19? What's happened? What changes or change of strategy or change of production have you had to do during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, we came into sort of last winter sales building. January was a record month, which surprised us with record sales since we started, which was amazing to think. January, February increased again, March increased again, and then lockdown came, and literally we dropped off the edge of the cliff. We did shut the factory for a week. We had a huge amount of stock of 40-gram bags that were no longer nobody ordering. We had sales of our 150-gram bag, but they weren't massive. And we thought really we were going to be shut for a long period of time. But we did run an online shop, and we suddenly saw that the shop suddenly started to ping, and we started to get increased orders in the shop. So we diverted all of our marketing budget that we had into online sales. And by the end of April, we'd done another record month, and that was purely online.
Wow, that's pretty good. And is that continuing, or are you seeing any changes recently?
That continued April, May, and June, and then started to tail off or slow down in May. we've still got a good online sales, but as people then went out and about more, the online sales started to slow down. I think the biggest thing we learnt was to have a bigger range of customers. We set our goal out, Sean and I, to create a brand, and we wanted to protect that brand. And so to a degree, we were choosing which customers we went into. Now, rightly or wrongly, we could look back and say we should have opened our doors to every customer. We were never anti the supermarket, because that's not what we're about, but we were trying to protect a lot of customers that wanted our niche crisps for their farm shops, delis, cafes, didn't want to see us in a prime supermarket, which we could understand. We also didn't want to, we couldn't supply one supermarket because they'd take 100% of what we were producing, and that probably would have been dangerous for us as a small company. So we tried to resist going to the big five. We set up with smaller supermarkets. We started to do one called Booths, which is a Waitrose of the North, I call. So we were going into them in April, and we started to do some work with Co-op in their local stores. And I think probably those two had a massive impact on how we survived COVID during the April, May, June, because people were shopping in those supermarkets. So I think we learned a lot from it, and we learned that actually you do need to have a range of customers in there, because you do not know what's around the corner. And like everybody, we didn't see this coming.
I've also noticed on your website that you've got vegan friendly selections, and I know that we have a lot of social trends in food. So has this vegan trend hit your crisps?
Yeah, I mean, we've done very well out of what I call the vegan trend. I mean, we appeal to a lot of people that are very sustainable, and a lot of people view how we farm. You know, they've got some very strong views on how farming should be. But what I try to say to them is that, you know, we are intensive, but we're also sustainable. And I really do think that the two can go hand in hand. Everybody have their view, but I'm pretty confident that we can be intensive and sustainable. And yeah, we've created a good vegan market through different things like Plastic Planet and things like that, which have a big following by the sort of vegan movement.
Wow, amazing. In a normal year, we take our students to Berlin, and we go and see an aquaponics place there that sells basil in plastic bags. So you get a basil plant, and the basil plant is grown and in Berlin, and it's sold to Berlin Waitrose type shops. And because the basil plant is in a plastic container, in Germany, the plastic containers have a tax as a supplier. So I think they spend about 6,000 euros a month, which is about €1 per basil plant, because the plastic cartons that they're using with the basil plant is not disposable. And given that we normally follow things that happen in Europe, do you think that we should be really taxing non-disposable plastic? Or how do you think we should encourage the consumer?
I think it's difficult. I mean, plastic we use every day, and I'm not anti-plastic because it's a wonderful product, and especially, you know, if we can recycle it. So I'm not saying people you mustn't have things in plastic, but things are over packaged. All the things that we buy from the supermarket, well over packaged. We're never going to see a lot of people switching to compostable films in big companies because they're so expensive. So on our bag of crisps, if you were to take a plastic bag in a 40-gram bag, it probably costs a well-known big brand less than a penny a bag. It costs us 10p a bag. So there's a huge amount of our crisp and our is in the bag. So if you went to a set of accountants and said that you're selling so many billion bags of crisps a year and we're going to put 10p on them tomorrow morning, they probably say, no, we're not going to take the business that way. So I think you've got a big resistance from the big companies within their profit and accountants. And I think we've got to make sure that everybody can still afford everything. So I think if you start taxing everybody on it, you're always going to take an element of people who suddenly say, I can't afford that. So I think there's a balance, you know, to making sure that we don't overpackage things, and those people that can afford to buy into compostable films or are prepared to pay a little bit extra or put a little bit aside. And I think we must give people that choice rather than forcing them.
Okay, yeah, it is interesting the way that Germany, they tax the manufacturers and the suppliers to encourage them to have compostable items. And the company we visit, they were talking about going from €1 per item to 0.1 of €1 if they used a compostable. And what was interesting is they too have different compostable rates, and it fits into different tax rates. So if it composts within 26 weeks, it's one rate. If it goes in, I think 15 weeks, it's a lower rate. And it was fascinating. You know, the Germans are very good at sort of putting these things together, and sort of change consumer behavior. Inga, do you want to ask that question, or do you, verbally, or do you want me to read it out?
I can ask the question. My question was interesting to hear what you had to say about packaging and the cost of metal and no metal and containers. So my question is, what percentage of your cost goes towards packaging right now?
To goes towards cost of packaging right now is over 30% of our cost is in packaging.
Ooh.
So
how can you justify that in your overall?
Well, yeah, we are the most expensive hand cooked crisp on the market. So we are expensive, and that's why I think that it has to be something that people want to buy into with us, because you can't expect probably sometimes that somebody who's on a limited income sending their free children to school every day with 3 packets of compostable crisps in their lunchbox, because I think, you know, that they probably haven't got that money to spend when they could probably buy them at less than half the price of ours. It's something we're working on, and that's the trouble with compostable films. They are expensive. So we've priced ourselves in the market as competitively as we possibly can, and we do find it very difficult when we go to some bigger suppliers. They want some discount, and we just say, we're really sorry, we haven't got that discount to give you, and we've had to turn people down sometimes. Some have come on board and said, fine, we understand, we want to deal with you because we think that you've stuck to what you said from the very beginning on the first day, and we want to honour that because we can now understand that, you know, it is what you believe in. And others have said that their market wouldn't stand it, and if they couldn't get a discount, they probably wouldn't go with us. So it has been mixed reaction.
Very interesting. My question is, your market research, did you do that specifically towards packaging, and what did you find out?
No, we did very little market research into packaging. We just knew that we needed to break into the marketplace, and we knew that we had to have a USP that was different to our competitors. And flavors was one part of it, but we knew if we could come up with something different in packaging, then that would open up the marketplace for us. I think in anything you do, there's a bit of luck, and our timing when we brought this out was absolutely spot on, because David Attenborough had come out at the same time with one of the first Blue Planets, and I think people for the first time were seeing what plastic was doing to our environment in certain places. And I think, you know, we were very lucky with that, because people suddenly saw our packaging and went, yes, it's expensive, but I want to buy into it because I want to do my bit for the planet. And you know, how much of an effect they're going to have on the planet, who knows, but people are very keen to do their bit for it.
Thanks very much. Very interesting.
Okay, Benjamin's next. Do you want to ask your question verbally, Benjamin?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And in a way, I think Mark started to answer it, which I'm curious as to how you perceive the difference in those sort of sustainability attributes of your product, how influential they are in comparison to the quality and the unique flavors that you've put into the product. And in particular, to distinguish between how the quality and the sustainability influence actually getting into retailers in comparison to what difference you think it makes to shoppers choosing your product when they've got a choice of two. When you're talking to retailers, how interested are they in the sustainability aspect? Or do you think it's more about the shoppers that are driving it?
Okay, there's probably a couple of questions in there. I'll keep coming back to them. If I miss part, don't hesitate to ask me again. But to start with, we always knew that going with packaging, we would create some interest. But what we had to make sure was when people bought a packet of our crisps, they enjoyed the packaging and felt good about what they had done, but they also had to enjoy the crisps inside, because we needed repeat business. We didn't want to be a one-hit wonder where somebody said, great idea, love the feel of it, love what you put on the bag, but really didn't really enjoy what was inside. So we've been and done that. So behind all the packaging was Sean and I were making sure that hopefully we push out the very best quality crisps we can. And that's why with all our flavors, there's no added flavors in them. If you take our cheese flavor, that is 100% Hereford hop cheese. There's no other cheeses mixed into it to give a cheaper cheese. And I think that's been really important, because we've had a lot of feedback from people that have opened a bag and said, we love the packaging, but we also really like your crisps. And there's an element of people who are buying because they like the crisps as much as they like the packaging. The second part of your sort of question is, how do we go to retailers when we're on the shelf? We've always said to people that when they come and said they'd like to stock us, but I've said, don't drop whoever you're stocking. Run us alongside, always run us alongside, see what people want, if they will spend a bit more money, because if people suddenly drop whoever they had before, put our crisps on the market, and they see their sales of crisps drop, then they could possibly think, oh, people aren't interested. So we've always said, keep one or two people that you're still dealing with, key ones that you think are selling well, and put ours alongside and see how you get on, see what your market will stand, who is your shopper. And we've been quite surprised in most areas that people have come back on and said, people really enjoyed the taste of your crisps and we're happy just to stock yours. One of our limiting factors in that was that we only had 4 flavors, and when you go to larger retailers, we probably didn't have enough flavors in our armory to be able to say just have 2 farmers. So we have actually just brought out one new flavor, which is called sausage and mustard at the moment, which launched about a month ago, which is a local rare breed pork from Herefordshire, and we've teamed up with them to produce a sausage, Tudge's sausage and mustard. And we've got another flavor coming out pre-Christmas, we hope, or just after, which will give us 6 flavors to our sales, and hopefully that does help in making sure people will just stock ourselves.
Are you okay with that answer, Ben?
Yeah, that was very interesting. Am I allowed a supplementary?
You certainly are.
I think this probably be very hard to track, but do you know how many of your consumers do compost the bag?
We don't, and this is something that's been pretty hard for us, especially when people send us a message and saying, which bin do we put it in, because we haven't got a composting facility. So which bin does it go in? Does it go in the food waste bin? Does it go in the recycle bin? Well, it definitely doesn't go in the recycle bin because it's not recyclable. It can go in your food waste bin, but then when it gets to certain councils, they see a packet of crisps in the bin and they're like, well, we got a packet of crisps in the bin, so we can't process that food now because they think it's plastic. So educating councils is being really, really difficult, because it's not so much educating the people, it's educating councils at the other end to know what to do with our packaging. We would only hope that a large percentage of people are actually composting them at home, but we have no figures on that to know how many people are.
Okay. Then we'll move to Helen next. Helen, do you want to ask your question?
Oh, hello, hi, thank you. I work with an organisation, and we sort of run competitions for young students, and usually, you know, try to be entrepreneurial kind of thing. Is people always say, you know, a lot of young people want to be entrepreneur, and I'm quite encouraged to see that, you know, you are you know, in the elder group. So I just wanted to check with you, like, how did it feel, you know, what to be like starting a complete new business for you at your age, you know?
It's hugely exciting. I don't think that probably in my lifetime, again, I can say I've done a first. I mean, as far as we're aware, we are the first fully compostable packet of crisps in the world. So we have attracted a lot of attention overseas. So, I mean, it's massively exciting, and it's a journey. And I think part of us has got swept along with the journey from when we started, because you know, we never actually thought we'd bring this bag to the market. I mean, we were sort of 4 years waiting to get it to the market. So it's been hugely exciting.
Well, thank you. That's really good to know. Maybe we can contact you to share your experience with some of the younger students who look to become entrepreneur one day. Yes,
because I think I tell anybody that if you've got a passion for something, you can do it, but you have to be passionate about it. And we didn't know anything about it. I'm a farmer. I'd never made crisps, and my business partner Sean, he'd never made crisps. We'd never gone to the marketplace with a product before. We'd never done a show. We launched in London at Olympia at the Specialty Food Fair. It was the first show that either of us had ever done. We actually, when we launched, we failed to have a packet of crisps made because our packaging, we couldn't get printed in time. So we went to a show without a product, which a lot of people sort of, when we tell the story, get quite interested in it. So we built a stand. We had plain packets of crisps, and we were able to make a few crisps in the factory, but we didn't have a printed bag. So we thought that we needed to decorate our stand and attract attention to ourselves. So we thought about what we're known for, and the packets of crisps are actually made out of wood. It's wood fiber. So from a eucalyptus tree. We didn't have a lot of eucalyptus around us, but we had a lot of Herefordshire oak trees. So we went out and bought 200 little miniature oak trees. We then put them inside bags with compost. We decorated our stand with these plain bags with no writing on to farmers, just a plain bag with the trees inside it. And we put them on the stand, and anybody who came to the stand, we gave them a tree in a bag and said, go away and plant it. And remember us, because in 2 months' time, hopefully we will be producing crisps. I thought that we wouldn't see a single soul on our stand in the 3 days of the show. We never stopped for 3 days. 200 trees we sent out. We had them planted as far away as Provence in France, to places in Germany, into London, everywhere where people had gone away with the tree, and not one single person actually said, well, I think you wasted my time a little bit because you know, you haven't actually got a product. Everybody was enthusiastic about what we were trying to do. So we basically turned a situation that looked disastrous to go to a show where I thought people would probably just say, well, we'll see you next year, to something that we created far more attention, and if we actually had some crisps there.
That's wonderful. Can I just check, like, how come you got into a situation where you went to the trade show without a product? Like,
basically because the packaging was so new, and we've been working on it for 4 years with a company, and every time we changed something on the packaging, we had to go through a process of it composting for 26 weeks, because the certificate on the back from Austria said it had to compost in 26 weeks, which I think David mentioned earlier, from Germany. And so every time we changed something on the bag, we had to go another 6 months. So we kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And like everything, you know, people promise you, I will have it ready for your launch, and we just couldn't get the bags back from the printers. The bag was finished, but it just didn't come back from the printers in time.
Okay, great story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, Simeon?
Hi, Mark. Thank you very much for the stories. I quickly looked, and congrats on the success so far. I've been looking on the site, on the shop area, so if I'm a customer trying to buy crisps, and do I understand correctly that at the moment, if I'm in the UK, I can order directly from the shop, but if I'm, let's say, in Germany, and I want to have the crisps sent to me, I have to send an email first. And I guess if that's the case, my question is I can understand that it's a local product, a Herefordshire crisp. What would lead you to decide we will make shipping available to German customers or Italian customers directly from the shop and not via the sales email?
Yeah, well, you've probably hit on the hardest thing for us is our shelf life.
Okay.
So at the moment, we have a 3-month shelf life on the bag. That's because we want the actual best quality. We know that we can distribute those throughout the UK, and we know that they will arrive in good time to go on a shelf and get sold in good time. But to stretch out into export at the moment, we really need to have 4 months really on there as a minimum. We've got a lot of interest from America, and we would need 5 for America. We're working on that on the bag, but we won't send a bag export until we can guarantee that you can receive that bag, and when you receive it, you will have a minimum of 3 months on it, because it really takes a month from production to distribution to get into store to going out from the store. You end up with being too close to the line of the quality of the crisp, in our opinion.
Thank you for that. So I guess it makes more sense at this stage to focus purely on the UK market of consumers if you want to keep that quality. Or are you in the back of your mind thinking, of ways to maybe increase that 4-month time frame?
Yes.
Catering to outside the UK. Like, are you? I don't know how to phrase the question. Are you choosing to rather just focus on UK customers, or are you also open to eventually reaching non-UK customers if the shelf life is increased?
We very much want to export. It's something that we really want to do. We just have to be confident that we know we can send probably crisps to France and to the probably nearer European countries. But once we start exporting, we know that we could end up in other countries, and we want to keep a brand, and we think it's very important to keep our name. We have gone on Eurostar now, so we are delivering into London and Paris on Eurostar, and Eurostar are probably taking those crisps to lots of destinations throughout Europe. So we are traveling a bit further, but we are desperate to export. But we're working on the next stage of the bag, and we won't export until we are 100% that we can give you a minimum of 4 months shelf life.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, just a little bit aside, you can get grants to help you export things.
Yes, it's an area.
They'd pay for that.
Yes, that's probably an area we probably need to look at, and probably
If you got me an email, I could tell you the person in the southwest that looks after getting those grants for you.
Okay, brilliant. I will do. That'll be a great help.
Okay, we're moving on to Ivan now. Ivan, do you want to ask your question?
Hi there. Great stories. I love the trade fair story. I remember ending up in Hanover once singing "Oh Christmas Tree, Oh Christmas Tree" because we didn't have a product at the Hanover Fair. I'm interested in how you turn things like mustard and sausage from the actual product, mustard and sausage, or a cheese. Actually, how does it get onto the crisp? Fascinating. How does that happen?
Yes, it is fascinating, and I never ever knew how flavors are created till I started to look at crisps. So we ended up in a flavoring house, which they create flavors. So many of our flavors that are created today are not actually made out of the product; they're created in a lab, and they're very good at creating these flavors, and then when we taste it, we think we associate it with something, and the brain tells us that's the flavor we're having. So we were going through a whole new dimension to actually create a cheese flavor, and it absolutely being 100% a Hereford hot cheese. What they have to do is they have to dry the product, and when they dry the product, they make it into a powder. It's hugely expensive, so it's a powder, not a spray. So when we arrive with a new flavor, we give it to a flavoring house, and they will create that in a lab, and it won't be made out of the product. We then taste that and go, yes, we like that flavor. Then we go back and get our actual ingredients, and they go through a process then of drying them and bonding them to make a powder. It's hugely expensive. It takes a long time, and you've got some pretty highly paid professional people that do that.
So not something I can do in my kitchen at home.
No, I mean, people think about a meat flavor, and the meat flavor is the one, because when it's a meat, you can't actually, if you take the pork or the beef, you can't actually make that joint of beef into a powder. What you have to do is take all the flavors out of that joint of beef or that joint of pork, or that sausage, and you have to take all the flavors out of that and then make that into a powder. So it's very, very hard with the meat flavors. You're not actually tasting some beef. What you're tasting is the flavor out of a joint of beef. So, but whereas mustard and things like that, or cheese, or the apple cider vinegar, you're actually taking the product then and you're drying it down. But meat is very, very difficult.
Right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Emma, do you have a question, or is that just a statement? Oh, you got a second one there. Emma, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, David. Thank you. Yes, please. We've been looking into packaging, and with a view to using something with a hygroscopic formula. Essentially, we've been told that this hygroscopic formula, which means it's sensitive to moisture, which I imagine this product would also be, can't be packaged into anything unless it's a foil. So we're looking at some sort of foil thick packs, but we've spoken to a number of sort of packaging consultants, and they can't seem to find anything. So I'd love to hear if there is something else out there, if anybody's aware.
Okay, well, if you open one of our bags of crisps, you would think that it was foil lined, because it looks foil lined. It's silver in color. It contains, I think, 0.001% aluminium in it, which is less than is found naturally in the ground, and that's why when it decomposes in the ground, i.e. compost, it actually just breaks down and becomes part of the soil. So it is very tiny amounts of it, and it's layered as the last layer in the crisp bag. So that's how you create that seal and the what you refer to as the foil.
This is really exciting. We've been told by many experts that there isn't anything like it out there. So to have found something and somebody using it in the UK is brilliant. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So Emma, do you want to say a little bit about what your product is, please?
Well, we don't have a business at the moment, so there isn't a product, but we previously sold a business that was a powdered drinks formula.
Right.
So it was sold in plastic tubs, which we kind of compromised on, having spoken again to a sort of a packaging expert that informed us that, you know, from a recycling point of view, it was kind of ethical enough. But the sort of 10-gram sample packs that we had need to be put in stick packs. So, you know, like something that you'd get in a coffee shop that the sugar comes in, or the salt, etc. So the product then would clump if it was subjected to moisture, which didn't happen in the plastic tubs because we could put a silica gel in there and the lid would seal it tight. But sometimes this meant that when the samples arrived, if they had a long shelf life, but if they were sat for too long in a box, then occasionally they would go hard, but you could kind of loosen them up. But we just, there was wanting to kind of relaunch this business, but with some changes. One of the major things that we wanted to look at, aside from the ingredients, that was, certainly the packaging, and just not being happy with those foil packs and trying to find something else.
Okay, there's a huge amount of technology out there at the moment, and I mean, I don't mind telling you where to go to look for technology, but if you're looking for technology in packing and all the different products out there, you need to research a company called Parkside Flexibles, which is based in Yorkshire, and they're the leading people in packaging. They have now got sealable pouches, so the pouches that you like can reseal, and they're hitting those very much with the pet food industry, so that people can be walking their dog, giving them a treat, and then almost burying the bag when they finish with it, where they're walking around the park. Wow. So it's called Parkside Flexibles, and they're based in Yorkshire, and that's who you need to contact.
I appreciate that so much. I've written it down. Thank you. It's great to come across this. Good luck. Well, you don't need that. I've just looked at your website and your socials. They're going really well. So congrats, I should be saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have another question from Ivan.
Yes, hi. I was just wondering, thinking of your export problem, if the issue is getting stuff from Hereford to the nether regions of both Europe and the rest of the world, I wonder about a local licensing agreements where it's something a bit like a franchise where you offer the technology and the advice, and they do the production locally. And potentially, could they do what you've done for Hereford for, I don't know, Bavaria or the Tyrol, taking their locally grown material and doing the same sort of thing, but under license?
Yes, that's a very good idea. We've looked at this because we didn't just want to go to Europe, we wanted to go right around the world. So we wanted to go to Australia and New Zealand, and as far as we could. And that was the technology that we were going to take. We were going to take our bag to them and then put their product in our bag and then sell it. So yes, you're very right. It could be the answer to go in further than Europe, is to take the technology to the place where they're going to be. You're very right.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we're going round to Simeon next. So we'll be going round to Inga next after this one, I guess. Okay.
Me? Why?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying we're sort of circling round now.
I can go for it.
Go for it, sorry.
Mark, I'm wondering, so it's a local company and your competitors are sometimes much larger crisp manufacturers, but I'm sure you also have other local crisp companies in, I don't know if it's in Herefordshire or other parts of the UK. So let's say you do keep it in the UK, but you also export. What are some of the ways you make sure people don't steal the name of your company, and then also the specific flavoring maybe?
Okay, it would be quite hard for them to steal the name because we've hopefully got that all wrapped up. Our flavors, they could probably take some of our flavors, you're quite right, but they would hopefully we got exclusivity with everybody we're using. As far as the bag, I don't own the royalties of the bag. I own the royalties with 2 farmers written on the bag, but not what the bag is made out of, because anybody could go and get a compostable film and make it into a bag if they had the technology. So when we first started, we were hoping that we possibly could own the royalties of compostable, but compostable films are everywhere. So all we can really do is have a relationship with the people that make it for us, that that we hopefully keep the technology, and providing that we keep selling a lot of crisps and we keep them busy making the packaging, then it's a relationship. But it's something that I have no control over at the moment, as to whether somebody tomorrow could make their own version.
As a follow-up, has your company worked with the company Firmenich? It's a flavoring company with labs I know that they have labs in Switzerland, and they do flavoring for larger companies. I'm wondering if you've ever collaborated with them.
It's not a company that I know the name of. No, I haven't. I haven't come across them.
On Reddit here, I think that's how you spell it.
Okay.
But thank you, Mark.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, no, interesting question. I'd love to own the royalty to it, but nobody else has come out with it yet. I'm sure somebody will, and we'll have some competition. I hopefully guess that'll be healthy competition. But I don't see the big, larger companies coming out with a compostable bag due to cost.
Thank you very much, Mark, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for any other questions?
It's Ivan here again. Hi, Mark. Thanks. Did I hear that your bags are made from eucalyptus?
That's correct. Yes, they're made from the wood pulp of eucalyptus trees.
Right. You talked about the royalties. What might the possibility be for taking a patent on the manufacturing process of the eucalyptus into compostable bags, or is that widespread already? So you couldn't patent it because it's not innovative.
Yes, you're correct. It's not innovative. It's already been patented, and the company that makes the bag for us own royalties rights to make it into a crisp bag. So we were lucky enough to the people to be probably first through the door and put our hand up and say, we will put our crisps in it. And I think it's all about timing. So they own all the royalties to it already.
Okay, thank you. Drat.
So I guess my final question is that given that you are in the footpaths of Tyrrell's crisps, are you going to be doing vodka next?
Well, I only heard today that Mr. Chase has just sold Chase Distilleries.
Yes.
I
have
some. So who knows what we'll be doing next? I've just bought a small gin company, which my wife and the children are running. So maybe that could be the start of the next product. But yes, we're into the gin market now, but in a very, very small way. But I take my hat off to William, to how he markets his products and how he gets them out there. Full credit to him. Brilliant.
So, because before we started the call, we were talking, and you've purchased a pub, and you started running a pub during COVID as well, which you sort of forgot to mention as well. So, so you've got a gin distillery, a pub, a potato farm, and a crisp manufacturing. Is there anything else that you've forgotten to mention?
Not really, I don't think. I think probably a large farming business to go alongside it, which is the core part of it. But I enjoy doing business. As I said at the start, I'm very passionate about things in Herefordshire. I've actually got 2 pubs I own, and they're both on the farm. They're both needed doing up, and they were both going to close. The last one that we just opened now is a 16th century coaching inn. And we're doing as much local food, and we're doing fine dining, which I think is hugely important to Herefordshire. So what we've tried to do is bring food perhaps that you might be eating in London or maybe in a larger city, and try and bring it to Herefordshire. So try and bring the food in the fine dining to Herefordshire. So that's our aim. So it's been hugely exciting.
Right, it does sound very exciting. I think we've got one last question from Helen. Do you want to say the question, Helen, or shall I read it out?
I'll just quickly say, I just wanted to know, if, how much did you put into the company to start it off, and is the operation in profit or is still investing?
We started off, I don't mind sharing it because it's, we started off by investing about £500,000 into the company, and that was mostly for machinery. The hardest part was finding the machinery, because nobody in the UK wanted to sell us second-hand crisping equipment because they knew what we were going to do. So we had to go to Ireland, Holland, and around Europe to find all the equipment. We're investing heavily now. We're just putting in a new fryer that's going to quadruple the amount of crisp we can make an hour, and that's probably another £500,000 investment. One of the big things that I learned from starting it up was that I could never make out when I watched people go onto Dragon's Den and suddenly they came out with a great product and a company, and they were probably 18 months, maybe 3 years into it, and they then wanted to give away 20–30% of their company. They always wanted to give away 5%, but quite often they gave away a lot more. And I was always intrigued to why somebody'd want to do that. But once I started Two Farmers, I realized why they did, because we started off with an investment and then we started to grow. And as we were starting to grow, we needed double the amount of packaging. We needed double the amount of oil. We needed double the amount of everything that we wanted, and then quadruples the amount to try and keep up with demand. And cash flow wouldn't allow us to. We couldn't then go to the bank and ask for more money. In our situation, we were very lucky because both Sean and I had businesses behind us that could support the business. But I can understand when people then are faced with mortgaging their house, or going to somewhere like Dragon's Den and getting an investment. So that's been a really, really big lesson to us. It's not when you start up, it happens in 18 months, year 2, year 3, when you suddenly get starved to cash.
Okay, thanks for that.
So it's a continuous, it's that, actually when you say £500,000, that's a huge amount of money. So I think a lot of the young entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs will never be able to come up with that much money to start it off.
Yes, and I think there's great ways of raising money today. I mean, there's crowdfunding and different ways to go into the city, and there's a lot of people out there at the moment that have got a lot of money that's not worth sitting in the bank, and they're very keen to put it into something or be seen to put it in something that they might enjoy. So I think there's big opportunities for anybody out there that has a great idea and wants to start, because there's a lot of people that are very, very keen to put their money in.
Okay. Emma, you got a cheeky question.
Yes, it is a bit of a cheeky question. I thought you might read that one out for me, David.
No.
I'm just looking at your website, and having spent a lot of time on foodpreneur webinars recently, I've noticed that occasionally they give out a discount code for people to pop onto their website. I was just about to order a 24 box and I thought, let me just check. Is there a discount code before I do? No is fine.
I've lost you a bit.
Still there, Emma?
Yes, I'm still here. When did I lose you? David, do you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. So
Perhaps I should type that. I'm not sure what's happened the other side.
So Emma's asking, do you have a discount code for buying a box of 24 packets of crisps?
We do discounts. I've employed a marketing group. I think that was really important at our early stages, that because I was never, it's not what I'm good at, I didn't think. So we've invested into a marketing group to take us forward. And quite often with all the social media and everything, they say we've got to keep people interested. So every now and then we put out a discount code to try and just get people interested following us. It's important to be followed. I hope, my fear is that sometimes people wait to see the discount codes come up and then buy. And it's something I'm quite wary of, but I think it always creates a bit of interest and gets people talking and sharing, which is hugely important in today's world.
Correct.
Okay, I put the URLs in for Twitter and Facebook so everybody can follow you. Louise, I think you've got a bit of a plug there.
I have, yes, just to say that we do have an Agritech and business incubator at the University Farm 491, and we've raised, the businesses that are involved and our members have raised £31 million in funding in the last 2 years. So again, if anyone's interested in engaging with Farm 491, please do get in touch, because we now have a range of funders who are interested in a whole range of projects. So as Mark was saying, there's a lot of people out there looking to invest in both Agritech and startup agri-food businesses.
Okay, right. Any other questions? Because we've run it for an hour now. Right, well, thank you very much, Mark. I think we've all got very interested in crisps this evening, and I wish you really well with your portfolio of businesses. We see a lot of rural businesses diversifying in many different ways, and that portfolio of businesses you have de-risks de-risks what you're doing. So I wish you very well. Please stay in touch. We will be sharing the recorded part of this seminar with everybody on via email, and I wish you all well. So thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Professor Bozward.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.